Hello dear students, welcome to the class on drugs acting on uterus part 3. We'll mainly concentrate on the role of prostaglandins on uterus. So coming to the specific learning objectives for today's session. So at the end of this session you should be able to mention the prostaglandins used on uterus. Should be able to describe the uses of prostaglandins with respect to the uterus, and you should be able to tell the rationale of using oxytocin over prostaglandin in case of induction of labor. So before going to this, we'll see what are the drugs which are the prostaglandins which can be used in case of uses related to uterus. So you can use prostaglandin E2, that is dinoproston. Can use prostaglandin F2 alpha, which is dinoprost. You can use 15 methyl prostaglandin F2 alpha, that is carboprost. You can use prostaglandin E1 analog, that is misoprostol. So these are the prostaglandins which will be used for the conditions related to the uterus. So coming to the next learning objective. So what are the uses of prostaglandins on uterus? So they can be used in the treatment of abortion, for reducing abortion, for induction and augmentation of labor, for cervical priming or ripening, and to control the postpartum hemorrhage. So there are 4 indications for prostaglandin with respect to the uterus. One is abortion, induction of labor, cervical priming, and postpartum hemorrhage. So coming to the first use, that is abortion and prostaglandins. As you know that in case of first trimester abortion, the preferred treatment is cervical section. So while trying cervical section, you can administer intravaginal prostaglandin E2 pessary 3 hours before attempting the dilatation. Why you have to give 3 hours before? Because these prostaglandin pessaries will reduce the resistance to dilatation by softening the cervix. So 3 hours before attempting dilatation of the cervix, you can give prostaglandin E2 pessary intravaginally, thereby it reduces the resistance to dilatation, thereby it reduces the damage or injury to the cervix. And also all of you know that medical termination of pregnancy can be conducted up to 7 weeks. The most effective treatment is giving mifepristone 600 mg followed by within next 48 hours you'll be giving misoprostol 400 mg single oral dose, or you can give intravaginally. Intravaginally the side effects are mild, but in some cases they say intravaginal use have led to sepsis. And also you can use, instead of using mifepristone, you can also use methotrexate along with misoprostol for inducing abortion in the first week of pregnancy. So prostaglandins are mainly indicated for which type of abortion? In case of midterm abortion, missed abortion, and also molar gestation. So what are the disadvantages of using prostaglandins for abortion? These prostaglandins, they have delayed action. They have delayed action when compared to oxytocin. They have delayed action. Their actions are erratic action. They are not having any consistent or controlled action, and they produces incomplete abortions. And coming to the next one, that is the prostaglandins will convert the oxytocin resistant midterm uterus into oxytocin sensitive or oxytocin responsive uterus. Thereby, in case of midterm abortions, you can give one single extra amniotic injection of prostaglandin E2 followed by oxytocin IV infusion, or instead of oxytocin you can use intra-amniotic prostaglandin F2 alpha with hypertonic solution to induce second trimester abortion. Along with that, you can use mifepristone also, pre-treatment with mifepristone. Pre-treatment with mifepristone improves the efficacy of prostaglandin E2. It will improve the efficacy of prostaglandin E2 as abortifacient. So coming to the prostaglandin and its use in induction of labor, when compared to oxytocin, it do not offer any more advantage compared to oxytocin. Therefore, prostaglandins have no advantage over oxytocin in case of induction of labor, and also the reasons are they are less reliable, the actions are delayed, their actions are erratic in nature, and mainly if you want to use prostaglandin, they are preferred in conditions like toxemia and renal failure where oxytocin is contraindicated or should be avoided because it can lead to fluid retention, because oxytocin at high dose it has ADH like action which is not seen with the prostaglandins. And also prostaglandin E2 can be used in primipara if there is a slow labor, and also intravaginal prostaglandins are used because of their milder side effects. Coming to the prostaglandin and its use as a cervical priming or cervical ripening, they are used or they are applied intravaginally or in the cervical canal. The low dose of prostaglandin E2 is used. Mainly it is indicated when there is a unfavorable cervix. So thereby cervix will be ripened and softened. Thereby it helps in inducing the labor once you give a oxytocin. So if needed, you can induce the labor 12 hours later with oxytocin. So thereby chances of failure of induction will be reduced. Next, coming to the prostaglandin and its use as a postpartum hemorrhage, mainly indicated in case of postmortem hemorrhage due to uterine atony. Here carbapros is used, which is a 15-methyl prostaglandin F2 alpha. It is administered intramuscularly. So it can be used as an alternative drug. It is used mainly as a alternative drug to control PPH due to uterine atony, especially in case of, where do you use? Especially in case of patients who are unresponsive to ergometrin as well as oxytocin. So in those patients who are not responding to the ergometrin as well as oxytocin. In such case, you can go for prostaglandin in controlling the postpartum hemorrhage. So coming to the summary, so these prostaglandins derivatives which can be used for use related with uterus are prostaglandin E2, that is dinoproston, prostaglandin F2 alpha, that is dinoprost, prostaglandin E1, that is misoprostol, and you have 15 methyl prostaglandin F2 alpha, that is carboprost. So mainly it is indicated in the treatment of abortion, in the treatment of induction of labor, in case of cervical ripening, and third, in case of postpartum hemorrhage. In case of abortion, mainly it is used in case of midterm abortion or missed abortion, or in case of molar abortion. And also prostaglandins, you know that it converts the oxytocin resistant to oxytocin sensitive. It is oxytocin resistant to oxytocin sensitive uterus, so thereby it will help in aborting the midterm abortion effectively. So here you will be using along with the mifepristone, or you can use with the methotrexate. And also if you give prostaglandin, it will reduces the resistance to dilatation of the cervix, and also it will helps in suction of the first trimester abortions. Also used for induction of labor, which is less effective. No advantage is seen over the oxytocin. Their actions are delayed, but they can be preferred in conditions like toxemic patient or due to the renal failure, where it can lead to, if you use oxytocin, it will lead to fluid retention, whereas prostaglandin will not cause fluid retention. In cervical ripening, it can be given before induction with oxytocin, so it will not affect the uterine motility. So thereby after 12 hours you can induce with the oxytocin. They do not affect the uterine motility. Coming to the postpartum hemorrhage, you can use carboprost IM in case of if the patient is unresponsive to oxytocin as well as ergometrin. In such case, you can go for prostaglandin to control postpartum hemorrhage due to uterine atony. Thank you.